Have you ever paused in a garden and felt how even the smallest objects seem to carry a quiet story? A broken bottle reflecting the sun, a chair too old to sit upon, a handful of stones resting by the path. At first glance, they appear forgotten, but in the gentle rhythm of creativity, they can bloom again. Here at TERAFLORA Studio, we believe that nothing is too ordinary to become extraordinary when touched by imagination. This journey is not about perfection or expensive tools. It is about noticing the beauty that already lives around you and giving it another chance to shine. With your own hands, you can shape pathways from fragments, lanterns from jars, or tiny fairy gardens from discarded glass. Each piece, when reborn, carries warmth, character, and the soft reminder that waste can become wonder. As you listen, let these ideas unfold like a calm walk through the seasons of your garden. The stories we share are gentle guides, meant not only to inspire your creativity, but also to bring peace to your heart, like the hush of evening light falling across leaves. Imagine yourself trying these projects slowly, simply, with joy. They are made for anyone who dreams of turning the everyday into something magical. We also want to be transparent with you. This content has been carefully composed with the assistance of AI, designed to bring clarity, comfort, and inspiration in a way that feels calm and welcoming. Think of it as a companion, helping us weave words so you can picture each creation with ease. And if you find serenity here, let your journey continue with us. Subscribe to TERAFLORA Studio, and together, we will keep shaping beauty from what others leave behind. One idea, one story, one garden at a time. There is something humbling about the quiet beauty of an old can. Once forgotten, dented, and stained with time, it rests in the corner of the shed, waiting for a second life. Imagine gathering a handful of these rusty tins, giving them a quick wash, and stacking them one by one to form a tower. This tower, though simple, becomes a home for green things: basil with its sweet aroma, thyme with its earthy whisper, mint with its cooling breath. Suddenly, what once was waste transforms into a living sculpture of nourishment. Building a can herb tower is less about perfection and more about creativity. You can start with as few as 3 cans or climb as high as your balance and space allow. A gentle drill hole at the bottom of each can give water a way to escape, keeping the roots happy. A coat of paint, if you wish, can brighten the surface. Pastels for a soft cottage look, or leave the rust exposed for a touch of rugged charm. The choice is yours. As you tuck soil into the cans and press the tiny herbs into their new homes, you may notice the way the tower itself becomes a story of resilience. These are not expensive planters bought from the store. They are reminders that beauty often hides in the overlooked. Every morning, when you water the tower, droplets run down from one can to the next, a cascade of care that binds the plants together like a family. And when the sun warms the herbs, their fragrance drifts through your garden. A handful of mint in your tea, a sprig of thyme for dinner, basil leaves torn fresh into a salad. Suddenly the flavors of your meals carry the warmth of your own hands. Neighbors may pass by and smile at the sight of something so simple yet so thoughtful. This project teaches a gentle lesson, that abundance does not always need wealth, only willingness to see potential in the ordinary. By stacking cans, you build more than just a garden feature. You build a daily reminder that even what we discard can find new purpose. And in that quiet act, your garden becomes a little more alive, and your spirit a little more at peace. There is magic hidden in glass. Clear, fragile, often thrown aside once emptied. But when you pause and look closer, each bottle becomes a vessel for imagination. Picture taking an old wine bottle, rinsing it clean, and peering inside as if it were a window to another world. With a little soil, some moss gathered from the edges of your garden, a handful of pebbles, and perhaps a tiny door carved from a piece of scrap wood, the bottle suddenly becomes a fairy's dwelling. The process feels almost like storytelling. Every layer you add inside the bottle becomes a chapter. A bed of pebbles for drainage, then soil as the ground, soft moss as the green carpet where fairies might dance. A twig becomes a tree, a shell transforms into a chair, and a bead glimmers as if it were a lantern lit at dusk. Nothing needs to be perfect. Imperfection is the charm. Children especially delight in this project. Their small fingers arranging tiny pathways, their eyes wide with wonder as they imagine who might live inside. The fairy bottle garden doesn't only enchant the young. For adults, it is a reminder of the gentle joy of creation. Placing such bottles along a garden path or on a windowsill brings a spark of playfulness to the everyday. Each glance draws you in, as though a hidden story is waiting to be told. To make the project last, choose plants that thrive in small spaces. Succulents, mosses, or miniature ferns. They require little care, just a mist of water now and then. And because the bottle shields them, they stay fresh and green for weeks, holding their magic longer than you might expect. What makes this idea special is how it redefines value. A bottle that once carried a drink now carries dreams. And when you place it in your garden, it invites others to see the world differently. Neighbors may stop, smile, and lean closer, wondering how such a small thing can hold so much charm. In the end, creating a fairy bottle garden is not about crafting perfection, but about allowing your imagination to breathe. It teaches us that beauty is not always grand or vast. It can live inside the simplest glass, waiting quietly to be found. At the foot of a tree or the edge of your flower bed, there is room for a story to take root. Imagine shaping small stones, bits of wood, and moss into a home that seems to belong to another world. A hobbit home, snug and round, as if it has been waiting for its inhabitants to return from their journeys. The act of building such a miniature dwelling is less about craft and more about weaving a dream into your garden. Begin with the simplest of materials. A handful of stones, a little soil to bind them, and scraps of wood for a door. If you have an old piece of plywood, cut a circle and paint it green, just like the door from the tales. Pebbles can line the edges to create walls, and moss becomes the soft roof that blends the house into the earth. Suddenly, what was once a pile of forgotten pieces is now a scene lifted from a storybook. The charm of a hobbit house lies in its imperfection. A crooked wall adds character, a rough stone gives strength, and uneven moss only makes the home look more natural. The key is to let the materials guide you. Place the house beneath a bush or near flowers, so it feels like part of the garden's rhythm, as if it has always belonged there. Children and visitors alike will be drawn to it. They might kneel down, trace the little doorway with their fingers, and wonder if tiny folk live inside. The hobbit home turns your garden into more than a place for plants. It becomes a place for stories, a setting where imagination and nature walk hand in hand. To make it last, consider sealing the stones with a touch of outdoor glue or clay. If you wish, add a path made of pebbles, or craft a window from bottle caps. Small details bring life to the design, making it both playful and enduring. This simple creation whispers a reminder: gardens are not only for growing food and flowers, but also for nurturing wonder. And every time you see that small stone home nestled among the leaves, you may feel as though a quiet world is unfolding right in your backyard. A world where simplicity and storytelling meet. There is joy in color, especially when it comes from the most unexpected places. Bottle caps, small, ordinary, often tossed aside, hold a surprising charm when gathered together. Imagine collecting them, washing away the dust, and laying them into the soil not as trash, but as blossoms in their own right. With a little creativity, a pile of forgotten caps becomes a garden border alive with playful color. The process is simple and meditative. Sort the caps by color: reds and oranges for warmth, blues and greens for calm, yellows for cheer. Press them into the soil, arranging them in circular patterns like petals around a flower's heart. Each cluster becomes a bloom, and when lined along a pathway or flower bed, they form a border that feels alive with laughter. It doesn't take perfection, just a sense of play. A cap slightly tilted, another half buried, all of it adds to the natural mosaic. Children especially love to help with this project. Their small hands fit the caps into the earth with a sense of discovery, as if they are planting a rainbow. And neighbors passing by cannot help but smile when they see a line of bright little flowers standing proudly where there was once only plain soil. The beauty of using bottle caps is not only in their color but in their story. Each one has lived a life, on a soda bottle shared with friends, on a jar of something homemade, on a drink opened at a celebration. Now, they rest together, given a second life as art. The border becomes a tapestry of memories and moments, stitched together in the soil of your garden. For longevity, you might press the caps firmly into the ground or even glue them to small wooden stakes for stability. A coat of clear sealant can help the colors stay bright against rain and sun. But even if they fade a little with time, the weathering only deepens their charm, like flowers aging gracefully through the seasons. This border is not grand, but it is joyful. It reminds us that beauty often lives in small things, tiny circles of color gathered from what the world discards. And as they shine beneath the sunlight, your garden hums with quiet playfulness, turning the ordinary into something unexpectedly delightful. As the sun dips and the garden softens into evening, light begins to matter in a different way. It is no longer just brightness we seek, but warmth, comfort, and the kind of glow that makes a place feel alive long after daylight fades. An old glass jar, ordinary, once forgotten, can carry that glow if you let it. With a candle or a strand of lights placed inside, it becomes a lantern, guiding footsteps and casting a gentle spell across the garden. There is something deeply calming about creating a lantern pathway. Begin with jars you already have, pickle jars, jam jars, even old bottles cut down to size. Wash them, and perhaps add a touch of paint if you wish. A frosted layer for a soft blur, or small patterns brushed in white or gold. Place a tea candle or a string of fairy lights inside, and suddenly the jar is no longer just glass. It is a vessel of warmth. Lining them along a garden path turns walking into something more than movement. Each jar pools light at the base of your feet, and together they weave a glowing trail. It is practical, yes, keeping your steps safe in the dark, but it is also poetic. The flicker of flame or the steady glow of tiny bulbs changes the night air, reminding you that beauty need not be costly. This project is especially inviting for gatherings. Imagine friends arriving to a garden gently lit by these lanterns, each jar welcoming them in silence, each step illuminated with thoughtfulness. Children, too, are enchanted by the flicker. They may stop to watch the shadows dance inside the glass, imagining fireflies or stars caught in a jar. To keep it safe, you might choose battery-powered fairy lights instead of candles, especially if the jars rest close to plants or wood. A simple wire handle can let you hang them from branches, turning trees into constellations of their own. The jars, after all, are versatile. Some may sit on the ground, others hang. Some cluster together as a glowing centerpiece. And in the quiet of night, when the last guest has gone and the garden is still, you may find yourself pausing at the pathway, grateful for the way discarded glass has become light. It is a reminder that even the simplest objects, when given care, can guide us gently through the dark. Sometimes, what feels like an ending is simply the beginning of something more beautiful. A pot cracks, breaks into pieces, and what once held soil and neatness now lies scattered. Yet, with a little imagination, even the broken edges can become a stage for new life. The broken pot succulent mosaic is just that. A reminder that fractures can be turned into patterns, and what seems ruined can grow into art. The process begins gently, with patience. Gather the shards of your terracotta pot and place them back into its base like puzzle pieces. Instead of forcing them together tightly, let them rest at angles, creating terraces and small steps. Each broken curve becomes a wall, each jagged edge a chance to shape something unexpected. Fill the spaces with soil, layering from the bottom to the top, and soon you will see how the pot transforms into a miniature landscape. Succulents are the perfect choice for this mosaic. Their roots are small, their needs light, and their forms endlessly varied. Green rosettes, purple leaves, striped patterns. All of them find a place between the pottery's cracks. Pebbles and tiny stones add texture, moss softens the edges, and perhaps a small figurine or two, a tiny bench, a fairy house, can make the arrangement feel like a secret garden in miniature. The broken pot becomes a story. Neighbors who see it may pause, at first surprised that you chose not to throw it away, then enchanted by how you turned loss into beauty. Children may crouch down, tracing the layers with their eyes, imagining tiny creatures wandering up the steps of succulents. And for you, the maker, there is quiet pride in knowing you gave new purpose to something once thought useless. Care is easy. Succulents thrive with little water and plenty of sun. Their resilience mirrors the project itself, living proof that what breaks can still flourish. Over time, as the plants grow and the roots spread, the mosaic only becomes richer, more alive, more uniquely yours. In the end, the broken pot succulent mosaic is not just a planter, it is a meditation. A reminder that flaws can become features, that damage can be shaped into design. And each time the sun catches the clay's warm tones and the succulent's bright leaves, you may feel a quiet peace knowing beauty often grows best from imperfection. A garden is never still. It changes with the rhythm of the year. The blossoms of spring give way to the warmth of summer. The golden hush of autumn fades into the silence of winter. To honor these changes, you can let your garden tell the story of the seasons through creations made from what others might throw away. The Seasonal Magic Garden Showcase is not just decoration. It is a celebration of time itself. Begin with spring, the season of renewal. Empty plastic bottles can be cut and painted into blossoms, their petals catching the morning light like glass. Arrange them among your real flowers, and suddenly the garden feels brighter, a place where handmade color mingles with nature's own. Spring invites you to experiment, to play, to begin again. Summer follows with warmth and gatherings. Old jars become lanterns, glowing with candles or fairy lights as nights stretch long and warm. Tin cans transform into cheerful planters overflowing with herbs and flowers. These are not just decorations. They are companions to laughter, to meals shared outdoors, to evenings that linger under the stars. Then comes autumn, with its gentle richness. Pieces of wood, shaped into pumpkins, painted in oranges and browns, bring harvest energy to your garden beds. Fallen leaves inspire crafts from tin or old fabric, tied into garlands that sway in the breeze. Autumn whispers of gratitude, of slowing down, of finding beauty in the fading. Winter, though often quiet, carries its own light. Frosted jars filled with white stones or candles glow like snow lanterns. Broken glass pieces can be repurposed into icy ornaments that sparkle in the low sun. Even in stillness, the garden breathes with creativity, reminding you that life continues beneath the cold surface. The beauty of this showcase lies in its cycle. As months change, so do the decorations, giving your garden a living story that evolves through the year. You need not craft all at once. Instead, let each season invite you to create. Over time, the garden becomes not just a space of plants, but of memory, a place where the rhythm of the year is reflected in your hands' work. This project teaches a quiet truth, that nothing is wasted, not even time. Each season, with its gifts and endings, can be honored with simple acts of creation. And when you stand in your garden, watching the light shift across decorations you shaped from forgotten things, you may feel closer to the turning of the world itself. Every garden tells a story in the way its paths are laid. A path is more than a way to walk. It is an invitation, a guide through the quiet spaces of green. Instead of buying polished stone or expensive tiles, you can create a path from the fragments and scraps already at hand. Old bricks stacked in a corner, broken tiles from a renovation, bottles left behind after a celebration. All of them can be gathered and woven into a walkway that feels both personal and timeless. The making of a recycled path begins slowly, like piecing together a mosaic. Spread the soil flat, then begin laying the materials in a rhythm that pleases your eye. Perhaps broken ceramics form a splash of color here, while weathered bricks add structure there. Glass bottles, when placed sideways, glint in the sun, their colors glowing softly among the earth tones. What once felt like waste now shapes a pattern under your feet. Walking on such a path is different. Each step reminds you of the hands that built it, of the care in placing each piece. Visitors may pause to look down, noticing how shards that could have been discarded now shine like jewels beneath the flowers. Children will skip along, tracing the shapes of tiles and stones, their play echoing the path's playful spirit. The beauty of this project is that no two paths are alike. Your materials will be different from your neighbors, your arrangement unique to your vision. Some paths may be orderly, with bricks in neat rows. Others may be wild, a patchwork of colors and textures that look as though the earth itself painted them. Both are right, both are beautiful. For durability, you can set the pieces into sand or mortar, but even a loosely laid path has its charm, blending with the shifting garden around it. Over time, moss may creep between the cracks, softening the edges, turning your walkway into something alive and evolving. An upcycled garden path is more than a walkway, it is a meditation in itself. Each time you step onto it, you are reminded that beauty can be built from what remains, that direction and purpose can grow out of fragments. And as the path leads you deeper into your garden, it may also lead you into a quieter understanding of how little is truly wasted. Water has a way of softening a garden, of bringing reflection and calm. Even the smallest pool can invite birds to drink, insects to dance, and flowers to mirror themselves on the surface. What many might see as waste, an old tire worn and forgotten, you can see as the frame of a pond, a circle of life waiting to bloom. The process is simple yet transformative. Place the tire on the ground, cutting away the top rim to form a clean, open circle. Line it with thick plastic or pond liner, tucking the edges carefully so water will not escape. Fill it slowly, listening as the sound of water changes the air around you. Already, the space feels alive in a new way. Around the edge, arrange stones, wood, or broken tiles to hide the tire's form. This is where creativity shines. Rough edges soften with moss, pebbles bring texture, and wildflowers planted nearby lean toward the water. What was once rubber and forgotten is now a small oasis. Then comes the moment of planting. Place lotus or water lilies in simple baskets, lower them gently into the pond, and wait. Soon, pads will spread, blooms will rise, and reflections will ripple across the surface. Even a single flower can transform the pond into something sacred, its petals opening in the morning light, closing at night, as if breathing with the day. Life arrives quickly. Birds will come to sip, dragonflies will rest on the pads, and if you choose, small fish may dart beneath the water. The pond becomes not only decoration but a small ecosystem, pulsing with quiet energy. Children may crouch beside it, watching with fascination as ripples spread across the water, their laughter joining the pond's gentle music. This project asks for little. An old tire, some liner, water, and patience, but it gives much in return. The pond offers serenity, a place to pause, to watch the light shift, to hear the whispers of nature carried by water. Each time you see the lotus bloom, rising from mud into beauty, it reminds you of resilience. From a discarded tire and still water, life emerges, radiant and calm. In the heart of your garden, you have not only built a pond, you have created a circle of peace. When space is limited, imagination expands. A wall, a fence, or even the side of a balcony can become a garden if you look closely enough. The humble plastic bottle, transparent, common, often discarded, has the perfect shape to cradle life. By cutting, filling, and arranging them, you can turn emptiness into abundance, a vertical garden blooming upward toward the sky. The process begins simply. Gather bottles of similar size, wash them, and cut openings along their sides. Fill them with soil and tuck in small plants, herbs like parsley and basil, trailing flowers, or even leafy greens for your kitchen. Each bottle becomes its own small pot, and when arranged in rows, they form a tapestry of green. Hanging the bottles can be done with rope, wire, or even nailed directly to a wooden frame. A single row is charming, but a wall full of them feels almost like a living mural. Every bottle, though ordinary alone, contributes to something extraordinary together. In the morning sun, drops of water glisten on the plastic, and the plants spill over the edges as if reaching to escape their containers. What makes this project so rewarding is how practical it is. A vertical bottle garden saves space, making it perfect for small yards, urban balconies, or narrow fences. The bottles also help conserve water. By arranging them so excess water drips from one to the next, you create a gentle system of sharing. What one plant doesn't drink, another below will gladly receive. It is also endlessly flexible. Children can paint the bottles, adding cheerful colors or patterns. You might dedicate one row to flowers, another to kitchen herbs, and another to vegetables. Over time, the garden becomes not just functional, but personal, an expression of creativity that grows with you. Neighbors may stop and marvel at how something so simple could look so lush. Visitors may ask how you thought of it, and you will smile, knowing it began with nothing more than a pile of bottles ready to be thrown away. In truth, a plastic bottle vertical garden is more than just a clever use of space. It is a lesson in turning scarcity into abundance, waste into wonder. Each time you water the bottles and watch green life spill out, you'll feel the quiet joy of having built something beautiful from almost nothing at all. There is a certain honesty in wood, its grain, its roughness, its history of carrying weight. A wooden crate, once used for transporting fruit or goods, can hold a different kind of treasure when given a second chance. The quiet promise of food grown with your own hands. With only a little effort, these crates become raised vegetable beds, simple and practical, yet deeply satisfying. To begin, choose crates that are sturdy enough to hold soil. Old fruit crates, wine boxes, or shipping crates are perfect. Place them in a sunny corner of your garden or even on a patio. Line the inside with fabric or burlap to keep the soil from spilling out. Then fill each crate with rich earth. Already, the transformation has begun. A container once meant for carrying is now meant for nurturing. Planting vegetables in these crates is both easy and flexible. Lettuce, spinach, and radishes thrive in shallow soil. Herbs such as parsley, basil, and cilantro grow happily with little space. For a more dramatic touch, you can place a tomato plant or peppers in the deeper crates. Their green stems soon heavy with fruit. Each morning, when you water them, you'll see how quickly life responds to care. The raised height of the crates brings comfort, too. No bending low into the earth. Your garden rises to meet you. This makes it easier to tend, to weed, to harvest, and it turns a simple act into a daily pleasure. And because the crates are portable, you can rearrange them with the seasons, moving them where the sunlight falls strongest or grouping them to create patterns of green. There is beauty in their rustic simplicity. The rough wood, weathered by time, looks natural against the soil and plants. Over months, as the wood ages, it only grows more charming, blending into the rhythm of your garden. Visitors will notice not just the vegetables, but the thoughtfulness of the design. A reminder that gardening doesn't always require large plots of land, only resourcefulness. Harvest time is the sweetest reward. To pull a carrot from a crate, to snip basil for a meal, or to gather a handful of lettuce leaves, it connects you directly to the cycle of growth. Every bite carries the flavor of patience, of creativity, of hands working with what is available. A wooden crate vegetable bed is not merely a planter. It is a quiet statement that beauty and nourishment can come from the simplest materials. With each crate you fill, your garden and your life grows a little richer. Sometimes the furniture we outgrow still has stories left to tell. An old chair, scratched, wobbly, or no longer fit for the dining room, does not need to be discarded. In the garden, it can become something unexpected. A flower stand, a stage for blooms to rise higher, a piece of rustic poetry among the greenery. The transformation begins with simplicity. Remove the seat of the chair, leaving the frame strong enough to hold a pot or basket. Place a planter snugly into the opening, filling it with soil and your choice of flowers. Petunias spill beautifully, marigolds shine like small suns, and ivy trails down the edges like a living curtain. With little effort, the chair carries life instead of weight, and suddenly its old age becomes charm. The beauty of this project lies in its playfulness. No two chairs need be the same. A tall wooden chair may hold bold, upright plants, while a small metal chair might cradle delicate blossoms. Even a broken rocking chair can be set in a corner, its curves softened by flowers that lean outward as though listening to the wind. Each chair becomes a character, each bloom its costume. Placed along a pathway, these chair planters guide visitors through your garden like gentle hosts. In a cluster, they create a gallery of color and form, turning a forgotten patch of grass into an outdoor exhibit. Neighbors may pause, surprised to see furniture among flowers, and smile at the cleverness of giving old things a new role. This project also invites creativity with paint and texture. A coat of white turns a chair shabby chic, a splash of bright red makes it whimsical, and leaving the wood bare keeps it rustic and grounded. Over time, as the chair weathers in the rain and sun, it only grows more beautiful, blending naturally into the garden's rhythm. Maintenance is easy, the plants grow as they would in any pot. The only difference is the stage they stand upon, lifted by the frame of something once forgotten. And in this, the chair finds dignity again, not hidden away or thrown aside, but placed proudly where it can be seen. In the end, a repurposed chair planter is more than decoration. It is a reminder that objects, like people, hold worth beyond their first purpose. In your garden, every flower becomes brighter when it blooms from a story, and every old chair becomes a keeper of beauty once more. There is magic in light when it bends and scatters into colors. A simple CD, once used to hold music or memories, still holds that magic if you let it spin in the wind. In the garden, these old discs catch sunlight, sending rainbow flashes across leaves and flowers. They twirl gently, and the air itself feels more alive, as though playfulness has taken root. The making of CD wind spinners is delightfully simple. Gather the discs that sit forgotten in drawers, tie a string through their center holes, or glue two together with thread between them for strength. Hang them from tree branches, pergolas, or along fences where breezes can reach. As they move, sunlight bounces off their mirrored surfaces, creating shifting patterns of light across the garden floor. There is beauty in leaving the CDs plain, their reflective surface scattering color like prisms. But there is also joy in decorating them. Paint spirals, flowers, or dots on their surfaces with permanent markers or acrylics. Glue beads or sequins for extra sparkle. Each spinner becomes a tiny artwork, turning with the wind, catching both light and attention. These spinners bring more than decoration. Birds often shy away from the flashes, which can help protect tender seedlings or ripening fruits. Yet, unlike harsh deterrents, the spinners look cheerful, adding both function and charm. Children, too, love watching them. Standing in the sun, they chase the shifting rainbows across the grass with laughter in their voices. The sound of the garden changes as well. As the CDs spin, they click softly against each other, a gentle rhythm that joins the rustling of leaves. In evenings, when the sun lowers, the last rays stretch across their surfaces, and the reflections seem to stretch with it, marking the day's quiet end. This project is proof of how easily beauty can be born from the overlooked. A CD, scratched and obsolete, is rarely thought of as treasure. Yet in the garden, it transforms into something almost magical, turning sunlight and wind into companions. And perhaps, as you sit in your garden and watch the spinners dance, you'll find yourself smiling at the way something so ordinary can feel extraordinary once again. In their playful turning, the CDs remind us of a simple truth. Beauty is not lost. It only waits to be seen differently. Sound, like light, can transform a space. In a quiet garden, the soft music of wind chimes adds a layer of calm, a rhythm that drifts with the breeze. And what better way to create that song than from objects once discarded? Tin cans, Humble, dented, often overlooked, carry a bright, metallic voice when given a string and a place to hang. Making tin can chimes begins with cleaning and preparing your chosen cans. Different sizes produce different tones. The deep, mellow sound of a larger can, the sharper, lighter ring of a smaller one. Paint them if you like. Patterns of flowers, stripes of bold colors, or gentle pastel shades. Leave some plain, and the rust itself will tell its own story over time. Tie strings or twine through holes at the top of each can, then attach them to a sturdy branch or wooden rod. When hung at varying lengths, the cans sway gently, brushing against one another, each tap becoming part of a melody shaped by the wind. The result is not a polished concert, but a playful symphony, unpredictable, free, alive. Placed on a porch, the chimes welcome visitors with their soft music. Hung in a tree, they add a voice to the rustling leaves, turning every gust of wind into a performance. Children may run beneath them, fascinated by the sounds, tugging the strings to create their own quick jingles. Birds, too, may pause, cocking their heads as if curious about the new songs echoing in your garden. Beyond their charm, tin can chimes remind us of resilience. Each note carries a hint of the can's former life, once holding food, now holding music. They embody a shift from utility to beauty, from silence to sound. Maintenance is minimal. If rain touches them, they may weather more quickly, but even that adds character. The paint fading, the metal softening, the tones changing slightly with time. Like any living garden feature, they evolve with the seasons, never sounding quite the same twice. And perhaps, in the stillness of an evening, you will sit and listen as the wind passes through your garden. The chimes sing, the plants sway, and the world feels just a little lighter. In their gentle clinking, the cans remind us that even the smallest scraps can carry music, if only we choose to hear it. Glass has a way of catching light, of turning the ordinary into something radiant. Bottles, once emptied and forgotten, hold within them the chance to shine again. In the garden, they can stand like jewels set into the earth, forming a border or fence that glimmers with color. What might have been waste becomes both structure and decoration, guiding the eye as surely as any stone wall. The process is simple yet satisfying. Gather bottles of different shapes and hues, greens from wine, browns from beer, clears from soda or water. Wash them clean, then press them upside down into the soil, burying them deep enough to stand firm. Side by side, they become a row of glass pillars, each reflecting the sun in its own way. Placed along a path, they create a playful edge, marking direction with light and color. Around a flower bed, they serve as both border and frame, holding blossoms as though in a glass picture. And when the sun lowers, the bottles glow softly, catching the evening light and scattering it into shades of amber, emerald, and crystal. The beauty of this project lies in its flexibility. Bottles can be arranged in straight lines for order, or in waves and curves for whimsy. Taller bottles stand proudly, shorter ones nestly low, and together they create rhythm along the garden's edge. Even mismatched bottles find harmony when placed in the soil, their differences turning into character. There is also a story in every bottle. Perhaps one came from a family celebration, another from a quiet evening shared, another gifted by a neighbor. In the garden, they stand together, their histories woven into something new. Visitors may stop to admire the way light plays through them, surprised by how such a simple idea could feel so enchanting. Maintenance is minimal, just an occasional rinse if dust dulls their glow. Over time, the glass may weather, but instead of losing beauty, it gains it, becoming frosted and soft-edged like sea glass. The border grows older with your garden, both changing together, both becoming richer. A glass bottle border fence is more than decoration. It is a reminder of resourcefulness, of how the overlooked can find new purpose. Each time you walk past, the bottles glint back at you, whispering that nothing is ever truly wasted. It can always shine again if given the chance. And And so, we come to the gentle end of this journey, where broken things found their second breath, and forgotten objects became companions of beauty once again. Each idea you have heard is more than a craft. It is a reminder that creativity is not about grand gestures, but about seeing possibility in the quiet corners of life. Perhaps you can already imagine the sound of tin can chimes moving in the breeze, or the glow of lantern jars guiding you through the night. Maybe your garden will hold a small hobbit home, or a path shaped from fragments of stone and glass. These are not only projects, they are invitations to slow down, to create with your hands, and to find calm in the making. Here at Verdo Studio, we believe that a garden is not simply soil and plants. It is a living story, written with patience, care, and imagination. And in sharing these ideas, our hope is to help you discover a little more peace, a little more wonder, and perhaps even a spark of joy in the ordinary. If you have walked with us this far, let the journey continue. There are countless more ways to turn everyday objects into lasting beauty, and each one can become part of your own story. By subscribing to TERAFLORA Studio, you join a community that treasures creativity, simplicity, and the quiet magic of making. So as you close your eyes tonight, let these visions rest with you. Bottles that bloom, chairs that cradle flowers, paths that lead not just through a garden, but into a calmer heart. And tomorrow, when you step into your own garden, may you see with new eyes the world waiting, always, to be made beautiful again.